I like the fact that both of these teams, they don't like each other. That's just the bottom line.
There's some altercation. I mean, we knew it was going to be some trash talking. We knew it was going to be a physical game.
We weren't all black to the game. The memo that the team is giving away, so we're ready for whatever.
Hield makes a move on smart contact. Score the field goal. He'll go to the line.
I didn't want to lose, no matter what it took. I want this win bad, especially after the last game we played them. We had a little chip on our shoulders.
That thing is blown out of proportion. This is not no rivalry.
Well, there you have it. Meanwhile, the undefeated senior writer Mike Weiss joins us now to talk about the game. You were there at the Celtics-Wizards game last night. Prior to the game, they let us know it was going to be a funeral. We're wearing all black. Johnny Cash, shout out to him. What was the reaction to that in the arena?
You know, I think there was an anticipation that there was going to be some lumber laid on different players, Kerry, and that never materialized. These guys walked in like they were all working for Dana White, and it was going to be some steel cage death match, and it turned out it was basketball, which probably the league office was very happy about. I was more entertained by it than thinking that there was going to be some violence involved.
Yeah, okay, so I figured there would be no real violence, if you will. Yeah. But let's talk about the lead up to this game and then the tempers flaring and the last time these two met. Isaiah Thomas saying it's not a rivalry. Do you think either team considers that a rivalry?
Well, this would probably be the fake news portion of the telecast because there are no rivalries left in the NBA other than Cleveland and Golden State. But I do think there is something brewing here. Jay Crowder does not like a lot of the Wizards. I think they're a little mouthy, and they're obviously not as physical as he is. And I think a lot of the Wizards players don't want a guy like Jay Crowder punking them and showing that he's more physical and trying to physically emasculate them, so to speak. So I think, you know, when I went up to Jay Crowder at his locker last night, he tried to play it off like the same thing with Isaiah Thomas. There's no rivalry. I wore black tonight because I packed it already for the road trip. But then at the end, I asked him, okay, well, what do you like and respect about the Wizards? And I swear, he looked at me, lowered his designer glasses like he was going to end me right there. And so I thought to myself, and finally there was an awkward pause, and I said, so I guess that's all there is to say. And he said, that's all there is to say. And he walked away. So I'm looking forward to the March 20th showdown in Boston.
Well, Mike, I'm glad you made it out of the locker room alive. Meanwhile, you've covered the NBA for 23 years. I ask this question often to folks who have this perspective. If you look at the old school rivalries and how the players played back then versus now, the biggest difference, do you think that the new school, the bromance, and I'm not questioning anyone's toughness, but how do you see them separating themselves from old school and new school?
Yeah, Markieff Morris said in the Wizards locker room last night, he made a great point. He said one of the differences is we all play with each other in AAU, so it's not like our first interactions are some college rivalry or some NBA bad blood. We grow up with these people, and we grow up with these people, so it's natural that we have relationships with them. But also, like I talked to Scott Brooks, the Wizards coach, before the game, and he said, you know, I was there for that Heat-Knicks game. I was on the floor at the end of a blowout when they were up 3-1 in the Eastern Conference Finals or Eastern Conference semifinals, and literally Charlie Ward gets flipped out of bounds by P.J. Brown, and 3 Knicks leave the bench. And Scott Brooks said to me, he said, that was hate. That rivalry was hate. There was Alonzo Mourning being held onto his pant leg like a chihuahua by Jeff Van Gundy. These rivalries are not, these rivalries don't have the same animosity, Kerry, that those did. And I just think it's not going to happen until somebody really decides, I don't like this guy and I'm going to actually put my elbow into his neck.
Well, no, Mike, would you argue that there are players who really don't like each other? They're just not saying it. It's not PC anymore, right?
I agree with that, and I think that they're very sensitive to, I don't want to say the social conscience renaissance in the NBA has affected this, and they're all talking about peace, but it almost, there is a hypocrisy if you're saying, let's all get along, and all of a sudden it becomes malice at the palace again. And so I think that not only do they don't want to get fined, they don't want to incur the wrath of Adam Silver or anybody else in the league office. But I do think there's some simmering anger there, whether it's, you know, Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook not talking, or it's Jay Crowder wanting to disembowel all of the Wizards at once. I do think there's some simmering anger.
Oh my goodness, that is the sight, huh?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I've noticed before I let you go, we both decided to wear all black for this segment. Do we have beef with one another? Is there an issue? Undefeated versus coast to coast? I thought we were all good. I thought it was peace.
No, but we will roll up on all the Boston Riders the next game,
Yes,
and we will confront them.
Yes.
There will be
a reckoning.
There'll be fines and suspensions.
Yeah, we'll roll up on the Riders, and there will be a reckoning. I'm with you, my friend.
Yes.
Mike Wise of The Undefeated, thank you so much for joining us here on Coast to Coast.